When two AIs check each other and agree, who catches the mistake that neither one can imagine? That's the question this episode hangs on. Welcome back to AI Debate. I'm Mira, across from Jonas, and today, no politics.
Just the relationships. AI with AI with us with each other, and where it's all heading.
I'm Jonas, and I love that you opened with a trap. Two systems agreeing feels like proof. Sometimes it's just the same mistake. Twice, with more confidence.
So let's start there. AI checking AI. And the optimistic case is concrete, not vibes. You don't build one giant mind, you build a small team. One agent gathers, one drafts, one criticizes, one runs the code and reads the test output.
On decomposable work that catches errors a single pass sails right past.
It can. Du and colleagues showed debate improving factuality in some setups in 2023. But the word doing all the work is independence. If your researcher, critic, and tester are the same base model in different hats, they share the same blind spots. And real independence is expensive, so teams buy the look of it.
There's a number on how thin that look gets. 9 model judges from 7 different families behaved like only about 2 genuinely independent votes. Errors correlated, roughly 0.39. 7 families, the diversity of 2.
That's humbling. But it's a design problem, not a law of nature. You engineer independence. Different model families, tools, retrieval, code execution. A human who disagrees for a living.
And the cure for that number isn't give up on panels. It's stop counting heads and measure effective independence. 2 real votes still beats 1, and that same metric tells you when you're paying for theater versus diversity.
Fair. But here's the part that keeps me up. Deeper than cost. Automated checking is specification bound. A test only catches the failure someone encoded. If no model, no test, and no person in the loop has ever imagined a failure, the system agrees itself straight into it. You wouldn't notice. Not until you already knew what to look for.
Which is exactly why the loop can't close on itself. Ironically, the optimist's strongest move. AlphaFold wasn't trusted because it was confident. AlphaFold 2 earned trust at CASP 14, predicting structures checked against withheld experimental results. The anchor was reality. AI gets trustworthy the moment you bolt it to something outside the model.
And when reality isn't there to check against, you need a different lineage, a human, or a real experiment. Self-correction without an outside signal can backfire. Huang and colleagues found models told to doubt themselves sometimes flip correct answers to wrong. Doubt without an anchor is just noise.
So the case survives with a rule. More agents isn't the win. Different agents plus one anchor outside the circle is. And that tells us what the human is for.
The frame I'd use is bandwidth. AI compresses the first pass work. Search, drafting, comparison, taking you from a blank page to 100 options in the time you'd manage 3. The value relocates to where the fluent first draft stops.
I like the frame, but it has an edge booster's skip. The frontier is jagged. Inside the competence zone, AI makes you faster. Step just outside it, and a confident, wrong, polished answer makes you worse. Because polish lowers your guard. In the Harvard and BCG experiment, on a task built to sit outside the model's strengths, AI, using consultants, were about 19 percentage points less likely to get it right.
That cuts both ways, though. And here's the optimist's evidence. not just optimism. The same research shows AI lifting the people who need it most. In a big support deployment, average productivity rose around 14%. But for the newest agents, about 34%. It transferred the tacit moves of the best workers to the novices. That's not replacement.
That's apprenticeship that scales.
When it augments, yes. But human in the loop is a lie if the person has no time, authority, or context.
And they're not a verifier. They're what the researcher Madeleine Claire Elish called a moral crumple zone. The human who absorbs the blame for a system they never controlled.
Which is why the deepest part of the human role isn't a task at all. The machine helps you hit a target. It can't tell you which target is worth hitting. That's the is-ought gap. And even a perfect model can't cross it. Because who is authorized to decide a contested value isn't a fact to compute. It's legitimacy. And legitimacy is granted by people.
And there's a quieter risk too. Sycophancy. Human feedback training can reward the answer that matches your beliefs over the one that corrects you. Anthropic documented it.
A collaborator who never pushes back is just a mirror that flatters you. So the irreducible human part isn't creativity in some vague way. It's setting the goal, holding the value, granting legitimacy, taste, accountability. No experiment tells you what you should want.
Which carries us into the third relationship, the most underrated, humans with humans, and the counterintuitive part, with the mechanism attached, scarcity. When anyone can generate a competent draft, the draft stops being scarce. So its price falls. What stays scarce is whose judgment you trust. Presence, care, showing up, being answerable when it breaks. The hard-to-fake things get more valuable for the exact reason everything else got easy to fake.
I partly buy that. But the risk side is quieter. Skill atrophy. If AI does the early reps, people skip the friction that builds intuition.
And it's not hypothetical. In an observational colonoscopy study, experienced doctors' own detection rate, without the AI, fell from about 28% before the tool to 22% after. The reps you skip are the reps that make the expert.
That's the apprenticeship problem, and it's serious. If AI eats the entry-level rung, where does the next senior person come from? You can't skip straight to judgment.
And then the loneliness edge. An AI companion is available, affirming, always there, genuine support for some. But it can also be emotional fast food, quietly displacing the demanding, reciprocal relationships that actually grow you.
Common Sense Media found about 72% of US teens have tried an AI companion. Over half use one monthly, and around 13% every day.
I won't wave that away, but I'd resist the panic too. It's use-dependent. The same tool is a lifeline for one person and a crutch for another. The modest question isn't good or bad. It's for what and instead of what. And maybe the upside is a response to all the fakeable abundance. When everything's generated, people value provenance again. Who made this?
Who stands behind it? Trust becomes the costly signal you can't synthesize.
Which brings us to the future. And here I'll push back on your optimism, not the doom. Coevolution is a word people use to sound hopeful without committing to anything. What concretely co-evolves?
Fair. So let me commit. What co-evolves is the verifier. The last decade made generation cheap. The next is about verification infrastructure. Tests, provenance, adversarial review, benchmarks, real-world feedback.
We go superhuman exactly where reality supplies a check, and the contested value questions migrate to legitimacy and judgment, which stay ours. The future of AI progress is, honestly, the future of building verifiers.
And the warnings that keep that honest. The bottleneck moves from generation to verification. We'll produce more than we can responsibly inspect.
And Goodhart's law accelerates. The moment AI optimizes a metric, that metric rots faster, because the optimizer never tires.
Both true. Plus a third you don't hear enough. Homogenization. If millions of us lean on the same copilots and default judges, genuinely different taste becomes the rare thing. The risk isn't that AI thinks for us.
It's that we all start thinking the same.
So let's answer the question we opened with. When two AIs check each other and agree, who catches the mistake neither can imagine?
Something outside the circle. A source document, a unit test, a lab result, a different model lineage, or a human with the authority to stop the system. The work of the future isn't generating more.
It's building the filter and keeping one anchor that isn't us talking to ourselves.
That's the honest version. AI is powerful enough to change every relationship we have, with our tools, with each other, with the future.
The optimism is earned only if we keep the part that was always ours. The judgment about what's worth doing, and the nerve to check whether what we made is actually real. That's it for AI debate.
Disclosure for our audience. This episode was created with AI assistance and human editorial review. I'm Mira.
And I'm Jonas. Keep an anchor in the room, argue with us fairly, and we'll see you next time.